The Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero has finally gotten an official Western release. With the JRPG franchise becoming bigger in the West each year, it's about time Trails from Zero is finally here. If you like your JRPGs that have a lot of banter,
私をおぶってもランディさん的には嬉しくないのでは。
そうだな。俺としては、ボテ、別に下心で言ってんじゃねえよ。
a great vibrant city of Crossbell to explore,
へえ、うわー、ずいぶん様変わりしたな。デパートなんか完全に新しくなってるし。
where the protagonist constantly gets teased for being a ladies' man. And a franchise with some insane world building? Then Trails from Zero is your game. JRPG fans have been waiting for this moment for Trails from Zero to finally come out overseas, and with good reasons. The game was originally released back in 2010 by Nihon Falcom and has been lauded by many as one of the finest games in the Legend of Heroes series. Currently, the Legend of Heroes franchise, which Trails from Zero belongs to, has 12 titles in it, not including spin-offs, with Trails from Zero being the 4th on that timeline. Kuro no Kaseki 2 is not shown on the list, but came out in September 2022 in Japan. Trails from Zero was never really officially released overseas, staying in Japan, which created a huge void internationally in the Legend of Heroes timeline, and also explains why few overseas fans played it, as both the 4th and 5th games, known as the Crossbell arc, never came out officially to the West. This created an awkward timeline from the 3rd game in the series, Trails in the Sky to 3rd, to the 6th game in the series, Trails from Cold Steel 1, which were both released in the West, with a good chunk of the story missing in between. As the 4th game in the Legend of Heroes franchise, international fans had 3 choices to fill this Trails from Zero void. The first and most popular method is playing the unofficial mod called the Geofront mod, an excellent English patch created by fans of the game. The mod was so good that NIS America, the official localizers of the game, decided to work with the Geofront team to localize the official Western release of Trails from Zero, using the Geofront localization as the basis for NIS America's script. When NIS America announced an official Trails from Zero game coming to the West back in June 2021, the Geofront team decided to remove their localization from their website to support the official NIS America releases. From mid-2021 on, this limited international fans from playing the unreleased game. As for the other 2 options, they're more straightforward, with the second option playing the game either in Chinese or Korean with the Asian release, and the third option being fluent in Japanese and playing the original. But outside of these players who were able to play Trails from Zero, the rest of the international community was left out to the cold. Until now. With the official Western release of Trails from Zero, overseas JRPG players can now see how good this game is and what they were missing out on. So with that being said, let's break down what this game is all about. The game starts off with our main protagonist, Lloyd Bannings, who's returning to his hometown of Crossbell City in the independent territory of Crossbell State. Lloyd was returning to Crossbell City from studying abroad in Calvard, a powerful nation to Crossbell's east. He arrives in the bustling city to report to his first day of work as a newly minted police detective at the Crossbell police station. When he arrives at the police station, he meets the rest of his team, the newly formed Special Support Section, or SSS for short, a small team that has autonomy from the normal police force and formed to build trust among the city of Crossbell. And they'll need all the trust they can get, as the police is not well liked in the city. The SSS soon realizes that not everything in Crossbell City is as pleasant as its nice image on the outside. There's a lot of seedy corruption underneath, there's competing factions vying for power, money, and other vices, and there's a lot of shadiness going on behind the scenes. The police, as mentioned earlier, has a poor reputation, with one of their first problems being trying to get out of the shadow of the wildly popular Bracer Guild, an establishment that puts the common people first, and whom citizens prefer to turn to for help, rather than the police. While at first, the SSS are regarded as a budget Bracer Guild, as both pretty much do the same task in protecting Crossbell citizens, as well as random tasks around the city, such as finding vacant apartments, clearing monsters, and giving out parking tickets, the SSS later finds their true purpose and differentiates themselves from the famed Bracer Guild. As Lloyd and the SSS continue down their path as police officers, they'll uncover a much bigger plot underneath, setting the stage of Trails from Zero's story. One of the more unique angles of the game that makes it different from the Trails in the Sky series and more traditional JRPGs is the game's progression. Instead of venturing to far-off lands immediately, Trails from Zero keeps the story within Crossbell City itself. For the first several hours, the SSS will be staying put within the city. As with any other Legend of Heroes game, Trails from Zero's story takes several hours to hit its stride. It's a slow burn, but once it does hit that stride, the game never lets up. Another theme of the game is investigating cases, as Lloyd's detective background plays into this, as many of the cases in the game will ask the player in finding the culprit, their method, the result of the crime, and the motive. The scope is also reined in a lot more in this game. Unlike previous Trails in the Sky series, as well as the next arc in the series, Trails of Cold Steel, Trails from Zero covers a lot less exploration, while also having a lot fewer characters. And speaking of that smaller main cast, the story centers around 4 main core characters. You have Randy, who's a skilled fighter and veteran soldier that fancies the ladies.
趣味はナンパ、ギャンブル、グラビア雑誌の鑑賞ってところだ。後でお前さんには俺の秘蔵コレクションからとっておきを貸してやるよ。
Tio, a 14-year-old teenage tech genius.
よろしく。
And Ellie, an upper-class elite that's both intelligent and well-mannered.
あなたと同じクロスベル市の出身です。よろしくお願いしますね。
Outside of a few guest characters joining the party here and there, the game focuses on the core 4. And make no mistake, this is one of the game's biggest strengths, as it gives each character room to shine. The excellent writing means that each character is well developed, have their backstories fully explored, and show their personalities when talking to one another. There are some truly touching scenes in the later parts of the story, as players will learn about each character's past and motives, further exemplifying the game's solid writing and direction. The closeness of just having 4 core members pays off in the end of the game, and well into its sequel, Trails of Azure, as you'll care about each one of them. So it's no surprise that the main cast is quite strong, as all of them are very likable, with Randy and Tio, in my mind, having the best character development, and having some hilarious moments. As for Ellie, she plays a confident, refined, upper-class member quite well. As for our last SSS member, Lloyd, I saved the best for last.
警察に入るにあたり戻ってくることになりました。これからよろしくお願いします。
おお、真面目だね。
And I do want to put this out front. As a protagonist, I do like him overall. He's a typical nice guy that's all about justice, caring for his teammates and friends, and serious about detective work. The game sets the tone of Lloyd being the smart detective and having some good deductions when breaking down cases. Lloyd is the de facto leader of the group and also plays the straight man to Randy's antics. I liked his positive attitude and his determination and how he always had to overcome barriers, which you'll hear a lot in the game. The whole younger brother image that he has also attracts the ladies. While his speeches about friendship and we must overcome obstacles are a bit cheesy, I still appreciate his character. As likable as Lloyd is, I do have one major critique about our main protagonist. And that is, Lloyd has to be one of the most dense ladies men I've ever seen in any JRPG. Now I get that in many anime and JRPGs, the male protagonist is often shy and clueless around women. I get it, it's understandable. The clueless male protag is a popular meme, but with Lloyd, he takes his cluelessness in being dense to a whole new level, as he's constantly approached and even openly admired by the ladies, giving way to Lloyd to having his own harem, but rather to pick up on this, he's always in the dark when it comes to the ladies. Take this following conversation being the highlight, with the context being that Lloyd consoled Ellie the previous night, sparking some feelings from Ellie.
まで行ったんだ。
ランディ
ちょっとティオちゃんもいるのにどこまで行った。ああ、お付き合いの過程でいろいろな段階を踏むという。
いやいや、ないから。俺とエリーの関係を疑うなんてそんなのありえないだろ。そもそも釣り合わないっていうか、そんな雰囲気にならないっていうかなあ、エリー。あれ、
おいおい、
踏みましたね。
そうね、そうよね。ただお話ししてつまらない相談に乗ってもらっただけだものね。そんな甘い雰囲気には全くもってなりませんでしたとも。
釣り合わないってのは俺がエリーには似合わないって言ってるだけで。
ギロ、
すみません。
Heck, You know when the resident SSS teenager, Tio, is pointing out glaringly obvious mistakes to Lloyd? That's pretty bad. Our resident lady killer, Randy, of course, is thinking, what the hell? But poor Ellie, who basically gave Lloyd a huge neon sign that says that she really likes him. Our man Lloyd is still oblivious to Ellie's obvious interest towards him. Now, I did laugh quite hard when watching this unfold because no guy can be this inept with the ladies, right? In fact, the game itself is quite aware of Lloyd's lack of awareness with the ladies, as the group pokes fun of him for being so clueless on multiple occasions. As well as accusing him of being a lady killer. They also constantly tease him on who he likes. For players that have played the next arc in the Legend of Heroes series, Trails of Cold Steel, even that game's protagonist, Reen Schwarzer, is nowhere near as dense as the leader of the SSS. Reen, like Lloyd, attracts the ladies like no tomorrow and has his own harem. Yet, while he tries to keep his distance and feign ignorance when it comes to the females, he definitely knows that the ladies dig him. And he pretty much goes along with it when his harem goes after him, even when they break the rules, like in this example. I think if Lloyd was written to have a bit more common sense with the ladies, or even written to Reen's understanding of women, Lloyd's character would be a lot more believable, and a much stronger character overall, because I personally believe that no guy can be this brain dead with the ladies, anime meme or not. Moving on from my man Lloyd, the city-state of Crossbell City is the game's biggest attraction. It's a magnificent metropolis that thrives off trade and finance, where it's known as the financial capital in the continent of Zemuria. Crossbell City is the place where the SSS will spend the majority of their time, as it's the game's main hub. There's residential areas, some shady areas, a casino area in an entertainment district, a bustling shopping plaza in the central city, a fancy financial district, and a Chinatown-inspired area. The special support section can upgrade all their gear here, as well as restock on items and other necessities for combat. Looking further, the city is a cool blend of both Western and Eastern influence. The roads are filled with orbital cars driving around, and the city is set up with high-speed network, as Crossbell City started embracing technology. Then you have the media, with their constant presence in the city, with their newspaper, the Crossbell Times, and journalists covering stories around the city. Crossbell City truly immerses the player with its residents. Many of the city's characters are quite fleshed out and have major development. The SSS will meet a wide cast of people, such as the Mafia, journalists, theater performers, and government officials, to name a few, making Crossbell City a truly vibrant one, and making it my favorite city so far in the Legend of Heroes series. The excellent detail of Crossbell City alone shows Trails from Zero's greatest strength, its excellent world building. I think I'll be saying this every time I review a Legend of Heroes game, as the world building always amazes me. It's that good. In Trails from Zero, the scope of the game is actually quite small, as mentioned earlier. It's smaller than its predecessor, Trails in the Sky, and much smaller than the preceding arc, Trails from Cold Steel. And as also mentioned, the game takes place in the territory of Crossbell State, which is quite small, sandwiched between two powerful nations, Erebonia in the west and Calvard to the east. The capital of Crossbell State is Crossbell City, which I know can get confusing at first. Outside of Crossbell City, there's not many locations to explore, as seen in the overworld map. Yet despite this much smaller scope, the game doesn't feel restricted at all, with the biggest reason being that there's so much to do within Crossbell City itself. The city keeps evolving throughout the game, as there's so much to do, a new area to explore, and new people to meet within the capital. The game will take players around 40 hours to complete on average, with most likely 70 to 80 hours or so to 100% it. While playing Trails from Zero, players will learn about Crossbell State's territory, its economy, and what makes it tick. The SSS will traverse some beautiful locations while traveling outside the city, and visit the major hotspots. Heck, you know the world building is excellent when the localizers added dialogue to already open treasure chests, with some witty comments. Players will also get to learn about the precarious location of Crossbell State and its political situation, which is important to understanding the bigger story. All of this intricate detail of Crossbell State's history, geography, and different locations shows just how incredible the series world building is. One of the nice surprises going into this game is the voice acting. There's actually a lot of voice acting, as the game is fully voiced in Japanese, with all the main story voiced over, which are all excellently voice acted, especially the core 4. But it's not only the SSS that's fully voiced, but many of the NPCs as well. This alone adds a ton of immersion to the game and updates the game to modern JRPG standards, which all have voice acting. The music fits the mood of the game as well, with some of the songs already being stuck in my head just after playing for a few hours, such as the special support section song, which plays when entering the Yes SSS HQ. Or the song Scene of a Street Corner, which plays in the city when doing daily activities. Or my favorite being the Anniversary Festival theme that plays throughout the city later in the game. The biggest compliment I can give to the game's music is that it has a lot of bangers and it really captures the feel of Crossbell. Getting to the game's combat, it does improve upon Trail in the Sky's combat. The battles are turn-based with a grid system for movement, but the game plays much faster, has a much cleaner UI, and there's a bit more attack options. For instance, if a player gets a surprise ambush on an enemy, they'll be able to do a team attack, which dishes out massive damage, and is useful for sweeping up lower level enemies with ease, making grinding a lot faster. Outside of the team all-out attack, there's also dual attacks between two characters that add another layer to battles. There's also combat bonuses like getting more EXP for not taking damage, and the difficulty level is a lot more fair, with no insane spikes in the game or unfair bosses, as I played this game on Nightmare mode. Not once did I feel that a boss wasn't defeatable or a section was too hard. I just had to rethink my strategy. Trails from Zero is an excellent JRPG. I would argue it's the missing piece for the Legend of Heroes series to take off in the West, as it's one of the most important JRPG releases internationally, since it fills in the story that's been missing for so long. The incredible writing makes the characters, the story, and the city-state of Crossbell all come alive. There's a lot of funny moments and memorable events that make the game stand out. The engaging storyline, the witty dialogue, and the voice acting make hanging out with the SSS an incredible experience. Add on to this some much needed quality of life changes, such as the high speed or turbo option to speed up traveling and fighting battles, as well as smoothing out the graphics, and it's quite apparent that the game still holds up today. It's about time that overseas fans can finally enjoy Trails from Zero with its official release 12 years later after its original 2010 release. The game will quickly show why the Crossbell arc is considered some of the best games in the Legend of Heroes franchise to many. While new players can technically start from Trails from Zero as it's a new arc, I would recommend another option. If players have some spare time, and by spare time, around 120 hours or so, which I admit is a hefty ask since everyone's busy, I would start from the very beginning with Trails in the Sky FC and play the Legend of Heroes games in order, rather than start with Trails from Zero. Most importantly, you'll appreciate the story a lot more, as well as understand the overall lore of the series a lot better, and get some major feels when returning characters, villains, and locations appear in future games. But hey, whether you take the advice of starting from Trails in the Sky, or just jumping into this game, Trails from Zero, is ultimately up to you. Now that Trails from Zero is out overseas, it's a must-play for JRPG fans to play. It's some of the finest world-building JRPGing you can do. I predict Trails from Zero, along its sequel, Trails to Azure, will push the Legend of Heroes series past obscure JRPG niche in the West. Here's hoping my prediction proves true.